Do you want to learn how to build the ultimate desk? Stick around and I'll show you how. Do you want to hide that ugly CPU or maybe your printer? This desk has tons of room for all of those office accessories that you want to just have tucked away but right at hand.
This video is brought to you by my friends at Craig. To begin with, I cut down all of the plywood pieces for the cabinet frame first. Now when you're cross-cutting like this on the table saw, it's really important to have even pressure against the fence and to have the table saw as slick as possible. Now I'm going ahead and cutting up the material that will make the drawer boxes. I'm not cutting anything to length yet. By taking multiple passes on the table saw, I'm cutting a dado into one of the dividers for the right-hand cabinet. And over at the drill press, I'm using a 2-inch Forstner bit to drill some 1/8-inch deep pockets for some metal posts that you'll see later on in this build. Now I'm going to drill pocket holes in all of the pieces I need to construct the base cabinets. Using parallel clamps is my preferred way to assemble cabinet bases, but a 90-degree clamp or clamping cauls can absolutely be used as well. With the left-hand cabinet built, it's now time to move on to the right side. Here I'm gluing a shelf into that dado I cut previously, and as you can see, the fit is pretty tight. The dividers in this desk are unique to the hardware and computer accessories that I need for what I do, but use this space as an opportunity to create something unique for what you need better organized in your desk. Okay, so now let's move on to making the top for this desk. For this build I went with Wormy Ambrosia Maple, which ended up looking really cool, but I did spend a fair amount of time filling all of those wormholes so that way I would have a smooth writing surface. Now here I'm going through the basic milling processes. I've jointed one face and one edge, and then I cleaned up the other edge on the table saw. So now I'm going to just glue up this tabletop into 2 different sections, so that way I can then plane everything to thickness. I had one particular board in this glue up that was being a little finicky, so I broke out some of the heavy-duty F-style clamps and took care of it. Before I run glued up panels through my planer, I always make sure to scrape off the excess glue. Believe it or not, glue can chip a blade. Also, you may be noticing an excess amount of dust today. I am in the middle of having drywall put up in the shop, so no dust collector for a little while. After both halves of the desktop are planed down to their final thickness and the glue edge has been taken care of, I'm ready to glue both sides of this together. So what I'm checking for when I pick up this panel is good even glue squeeze out. Now what I'm gluing up here is stock that will become a lip for the sides of the desk. That'll make more sense in a little while. So you remember all those beautiful wormholes I talked about? Yeah, just a little bit of epoxy. So what I'm doing here is I'm ripping that stock I just previously glued up into strips, and those will be glued onto the underside of the desktop. So here I'm laying out where those are going to go. I have a very specific position that they need to be in, so that way the metal spacers that you'll see later fit very nicely inside the desktop. At the same time, I'm also gluing on the lip for the front. So here I enlisted the help of Kathleen. She came down to work on sanding, and we quickly realized that we were first going to need to scrape the excess epoxy and this Bajo scraper has a carbide blade. It did a great job of cleaning up all that excess. This is one of the tasks that I use the Kreg track saw for the most in my shop, cleaning up desktops and breaking down sheet goods. To fill all the wormholes in the end grain, I opted to go with black Starbond super glue because I could get the process done really quick. And even though this isn't going to a customer, I just still felt like I needed to put my brand on it. The base cabinets of this desk are going to be painted, so I'm not worrying about using edge banding, but I do need to fill all of the voids in the plywood. For this project, I went with soft close inset hinges, and I'm using Kreg's concealed hinge jig to locate them. Alright, with the door in place, let's do a test close. Oh, that's not supposed to happen. So whenever you do inset hinges, you need to have a little stop block, and what I'm using is some more Starbond super glue and a woodpecker's ruler to set the location of that stop perfectly. On the right side cabinet, I have a single door instead of a door and a drawer like I have on the left side cabinet. So to mimic that, I'm cutting the grooves in the table saw in that right side door. Okay guys, we are ready to start finishing, and what we're going with is General Finishes milk paint for the color, and then General Finishes high performance top coat for the desktop, and then also to go over the milk paint. I'm using my Apollo Power 4 VS sprayer, and it does a great job laying down a smooth finish. To cut the steel tubing, I'm using a Cermet blade by Freud. And to finish them off, I'm using antique bronze spray paint by Rust-Oleum. Knowing that our floor is probably not perfectly level, I added these thin rubber feet to the underside of the cabinet. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am pre-drilling holes for my 3.5-inch screws to go through. I also drilled 3/8 diameter holes through the stretcher or shelf directly below those holes that I just drilled, and that will make more sense when we get to the final assembly. Now, as you see, I actually had to use a clamp to press those metal spacers in, so definitely a good tight fit. Okay, here at the miter saw, I am cutting all of the components for the drawer boxes to their final length. And then at the table saw, I am cutting the grooves for the drawer bottoms. And once again, I am back at the Kreg Foreman, drilling all the pocket holes to assemble these drawer boxes. Since I am using undermount drawer glides for this project, I need to cut a notch in the back of each one of the drawer boxes, so that way the hardware will work properly. Here I'm using my parallel clamps to assist in assembling the drawer boxes. Basically, I'm just holding everything in place and running some screws in. AccuRide makes some installation hardware or jigs to make the process of setting up these drawer slides way easier, and if you are going to use their slides even for one project, I'd recommend you buy it. Okay, so everything is upstairs in the office, and I had to enlist a little bit of help to get everything together, and then used 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws to secure it in place. So here you see what I'm talking about with those 3/8 diameter holes in the stretchers and shelf. I'm using a bit extender in my drill so that way I can run that 3.5 inch screw through the top side of the cabinet into the underside of the desktop. I laid down a strip of yellow painter's tape so that way I'm obviously not marking all of my lines on the freshly painted surface. And using way too many rulers, I get everything laid out so that way I can drill the holes for my handles. Now, installation of these drawer slides is a cinch. I'm literally just setting it on the base or on the stretcher of the cabinet and pushing it back 7/8 of an inch from the front of the cabinet and then screwing the thing in place. To install the drawer fronts, I'm first centering it in the opening with a stack of playing cards, and then I'm using double-faced tape to stick it to the front of the drawer box. Once that's done, I pull the drawer out, clamp it in place, and secure it with some 1-inch screws. After that's done, I just attach the handles and make any adjustments necessary to the slides.
If you enjoyed this project, I bet you will love the nightstands that I made a while back. That video is in the end cards here in just a second. And don't forget about the free plans that you can get from buildsomething.com to build a desk just like this one.
Ah, you're still there. Awesome. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, I got another one queued up for you right here. And if you want other awesome content from me, check out those. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe. And until next time, have fun making something.